Greetings. This is the Get To Free Press, and I'm George Boston Rhines. And as you all know, I've covered 25 to 35 cities in the state of Georgia. This morning, I came over with Camilla. I was called about what was going on, and I read online a lot of information what had been said over here. And so after getting here, I found out that it was only an executive session that was made up this meeting. So they went into executive session, stayed about 20 minutes, and so we've been in here about 30 minutes. I've just been given a copy of the press release, and I guess this is the press release that the mayor sent out, and Mayor Davis, I guess. But my point is that when I was sitting here, and I got to mention this to you because you got a right to know the truth. We don't bite it, we don't snip it, and we ain't gonna cover it up. I was totally impressed with the city manager, Bennett Adams, who came to me before the meeting started, and he said to me, I will be more than willing to sit down with you and do an interview because a lot of things have been said about this city that are not true, and I want a chance to clarify. And I said, that's why I'm here. And so I'm going to ask him to come, and we're going to do what we do because this is the way to get to free press. Do it. I don't believe in cutting it. I don't believe in sounding it. I don't believe in snipping. So whatever he say here today, and the questions I ask is on record. He don't have to worry about me. You don't have to worry about me. Come on, you don't have to worry about me editing it, twisting it, or adding my 2 cents to it. It is what it is. What's your name, my beautiful brother?
Bennett Adams.
Okay, you're the city manager, right?
I am the city manager. I have been for the last 6.5 years.
Okay.
Prior to that, I was a county administrator here, so I've lived in the community for 28 years.
Okay.
Some of the things that are being said about Camilla are very sad and disappointing to me.
Okay, but
as a resident of the.
Okay, but hold on just a minute. Before you get there, something I'd like to do a little introduction. Okay. Camilla consists of, what's your population?
We're about 5,000 people.
About 5,000 people, okay. And continue what you were saying. I want to get that out because we deal with people, some cities don't have 1,500 people, yeah. So I want to get that out front. Now just tell your story, talk to us.
Well, Camilla's, well, like I've said, this press release was, it says out of the office of the mayor, and it was generated by the mayor. And of course, he's free to put items out from time to time.
And this is Mayor Rufus Davis, right?
Mayor Rufus Davis.
How long has he been in office?
How long has he been in office?
Yes.
2 years.
Okay.
One of the things that is disappointing to me is some of the things included in the press release are not accurate because Mayor Davis has elected not to come to committee meetings or work sessions prior to the council meetings. In those committee meetings, the items that are going to be proposed to be on the next, for instance, if we had a committee meeting in December, it would be discussing items that will be on the January agenda. And at that time, the council spends, I mean, they have had committee meetings that last 3 hours discussing topics in great detail if necessary. Okay,
let me interrupt now because I want people to understand. You saying committee meetings, some cities call them
work session.
A work session. Right. Is that the same thing you're talking about? Okay.
Yeah, committee meetings.
And they really go hand in hand with council meeting.
Well, it's kind of your homework.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Before you come
absolutely.
to the meeting,
absolutely.
if you will. Mm-hmm. But he did not attend those. I think he's been in office for almost 2 years. And he's attended, I think, probably 4 or 5 of the meetings, primarily early in his tenure. But I've given you a copy of the press release.
But hold on, excuse me, you have to work with me now. I need you to answer, why? What is the reason, as far as you know, why he don't come to those important work sessions?
You'll have to ask him, sir.
Okay.
I mean, I can't.
Thank you. Okay.
He's aware of them. We have information packets for him at every meeting, just like the other council members. His press release really the first thing in it that is not correct is there's a change in the charter, and he's asking that he's stating that the council is changing the charter to give the city manager authority to appoint all members of the city's boards, commissions, committees, city attorney. He mentions chairs and officers. I'm not sure what he means there, but all of that is not correct. The charter was changed to allow the city council to make those appointments. And it's to committees like the planning commission, the tree committee. They're important advisory committees, but they're not legislative committees. But
Okay.
the city council will be making those appointments from this point forward if the charter is approved by the legislature.
That's what I was, go ahead, that's what I
Okay.
was.
The process on the charter change is there again, city council discussed this for several months in pretty great detail, collaborating with the city attorney to make sure everything was correct according to form, and then approved it at the December meeting, but they passed a resolution asking our legislative delegation to have the charter approved by the state legislature. And I'll just go down the list of items here. Mayor does note that the city of Camilla is approximately 70% African American. That's probably correct. It may be 68, but I think we can all agree Camilla is predominantly African American community. As you saw earlier today, we have 6 city council members, 3 who are black, 3 who are white, and they work very well together. They make decisions based on what's best for Camilla, not based on the color of anyone's skin. First comment is African Americans cannot be buried next to whites in the segregated city-owned cemetery. Our cemetery is maintained by our Public Works Department, and we have an inmate detail from the County Correctional Institute that also assists us with maintenance. There are two sections of the cemetery. One is a section where you can buy a lot. The lots are $500 each. There's another section where the lots are free. And, families in the free section go in and, if you and I were brothers and we had a family of 12, we'd go out there and mark off 12 spaces and delineate that, and that would be our space. We don't even know who's buried on that side of the cemetery. You are an African American. When we leave here, if you want to buy a lot in our cemetery, you're welcome. If you have $500, you're welcome to go over here and buy a lot. I've been here 6.5 years. We have not had any African American citizens come, or anyone who grew up here and moved away come and ask to purchase a lot. But if they do, I can assure you they'll be sold a lot. And what happened before I was city manager, I have no control over that, but I know the people who were for a number of years, and I think if anyone of color had come in and asked to buy a lot, they would have been sold a lot.
Well, while we're on this particular item, I have a question for this item. Why would you think, and I know you can't get in anybody's head, but is this just in the mayor's head, or it may be in the head of other black people, you just don't know about that? I mean, perception sometimes is reality. It may not be true, but you can't say.
I can't.
Go forward and don't worry about it. Go forward.
All City Hall employees are white except 3. We actually have 7 African American employees, 2 of which have been hired in the last 2 years. I told our department head that we needed more diversity in City Hall. That made the hiring decision. I didn't tell them who to hire, but I told them and first let me say, we hire employees based on their qualifications, not on their race. It doesn't matter who you are. If you apply for a job and you're the most qualified person, I would hope you're going to be hired. Now, as city manager, I have the right to hire and terminate anybody in the city. I delegate that to the different department heads because I don't need to interview someone that's going to be a lineman and then hire them and send them to the electric superintendent and tell them, you're going to work this person. So, the department heads make the decisions. I have to sign off on their hiring ultimately, but for the most part, I do not participate in that process. But I have tried to encourage, especially in City Hall, to get more diversity. So we do have that now. And I'll be glad to walk you through City Hall if we can get through it.
But I have a question on that item too. Always
Okay.
allow me a chance to ask a question on each one of them, because I got some written down, but it seems like we can cover them as we go.
Okay.
The question is that you have 2 hires. Okay, before those 2 was hired within the last 2 years, before then, was any blacks employed in the city?
We actually had another young black lady who we hired as a cashier. Her previous work experience would have seemed to have qualified her to do the job. She had an extremely hard time checking up her cash drawer at the end of the day, and was really just not comfortable doing the job that she had been given, and it's kind of a mutual agreement that she had another part-time position. She went back to that full-time, I think.
Okay. Now, these 2 blacks that were hired, are they up here in the front office, or where are they? What kind of work do they do? And before you answer that question, how many blacks, when a person walks through City Hall, can they see a black face in the place? Is there anybody up in this area here?
Most of the activity in City Hall is flipped from what it used to be. Okay. Where we're standing now used to be customer service and the cashier window. We built a handicap ramp at the back entrance, so our cashiers and our customer service representatives are in the back. But if you and I walk through City Hall, you will easily see 2, and you have to walk into customer service, but there are 3. Okay. You'll see 3 African American employees.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, that's it. That's B.
C. We talked about that. I don't think we need to talk about that anymore. D. There are no African American police officers. That is true.
That is true?
It is true.
Okay.
2 years ago, we had 3 African American officers. 1 left to go into the military. 1 left, and the other 2 left because of disciplinary issues. We have tried to recruit black officers. I've asked newly elected council member Pollard, as we were riding around, I was giving him an orientation of the city, and I brought the subject up. I said, we don't have any black officers. That's a source of disappointment for me and the police chief. You're a young black professional. Please help us recruit some officers. So we do have 2 female officers, and we also have an officer who is not African American, but he is a non-white. So if you saw him, you would think that he might perhaps be an African American, but that's not his racial designation.
Okay, so you have a all-white police force. How long has it been all-white?
Probably. Well, actually, we had a drug investigator that was on workman's comp who was a black officer, so we had 4. And he has, I think October is when his workman's comp, he settled the claim, and he is, on his own volition, left the city employment.
What kind of claim?
He hurt his shoulder in an incident, work-related incident.
Okay. So, what he listed here is true that you don't have any blacks?
Today.
Okay, today.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like I said, sir, I'm here to tell you the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all we want. Yeah.
Well,
what are you doing to correct? To bring. What's the total number of police officers?
12. We have 12 patrol officers.
12 patrol officers.
2 are female. 1 is is a non-white. So we have 9 white officers out of the 12 patrol officers. We are in contact. We have some former.
Okay, you say 9 white. How many female?
2.
Okay. And that's 9, 10, 11.
And the other officer is a male who's a non-white.
Okay.
I don't.
Latino. Just on. Go ahead. Don't worry about it. Let's go on with that.
He's from the Caribbean.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
I guess that's how he would.
Okay.
E and F. There are 4 public schools here in Mitchell County, in a community of 25,000 people. The Mitchell County Schools is one of the public schools. The Bacon Charter School is another one of the public schools. And the city of Pelham has a city system just like Valdosta used to have before I think they consolidated. They may not be consolidated.
They have.
Okay, so you're familiar with how
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah, we fought.
And we do have a private school here, and where parents choose to send their children is nothing that the city manager or the city council has any control over.
Okay.
So
So you would agree with him that 99%, I mean, are all white, attend a historical white private school. Would that be true? Close there too?
I'm not
percentage-wise?
affiliated with a private school.
So you can't speak on it?
I can tell you they have some minority students.
Okay.
I don't know what the percentage is, and I can tell you that I don't know. I know the Pelham and Bacon schools are not 99% African American.
Okay.
Now, what the numbers are, I can't tell you. But I mean, just looking at their graduation photos in the newspaper and that kind of thing, they're not.
Okay.
Item G, the city is hyperly gerrymandered.
Excuse me, before you get there, I'm sorry. Let's regress a little. So if he is correct with 99%, you still are saying that parents have a right to do what they want. So there is no need of changing anything because that's what they want, right?
I mean, where you send your child to school
is
just like where you go to church.
Okay. Okay.
You know, I mean, that's something the city government has no control over.
Okay.
I mean, and I don't have the statistics to dispute what he's saying.
I got you. Okay.
But I don't think that's correct.
Okay.
And that's just based on, like I said, looking at enrollment,
Right. Okay.
graduation pictures at the end of the year, that kind of thing. G, the city is hyperly gerrymandered, having only 2 voting districts total, where 3 council members are elected from each district with none at large. Almost all white voters are compacted into a single district, assuring that 3 of the 6 council seats will always be elected from the white minority. The city, and you go around the state quite a bit, and you're probably aware of this, but I'm going to state it anyway. Every census, the city of Camilla and Mitchell County have to redistrict. We take the census data, give it to our regional commission, who has a mapping unit there. They draw up maps that try to maintain the racial composition of the 2 districts so that they comply with the rules and regulations. In this case, Camilla got the information in 2011, had 3 different maps prepared, had them on display here in this very room for the public to come in. They came in and we also had at least 1 public hearing. I wasn't the city manager then, but I understand they had at least 1 public hearing on the redistricting, and then they voted on one of the maps and sent it to the Justice Department as required. And the Justice Department, I have a letter on my desk that I'll be glad to show you that says, we've reviewed your redistricting plan and find it to be acceptable. Right. So, I mean, the mayor may not agree with the districts, but the Justice Department
signed off on it. Okay. Do you also have the participation or the people that came in and reviewed that map that was displayed? They have one in Valdosta. When they have it, they have people to sign it. Some people get in, don't sign it, but they do have a running. Do you have that for me to look at?
I can check.
Okay, check on that for me, please.
If we do, you're certainly welcome to look at it.
Okay.
That's kind of like voting. Yeah. We have all these ballots for people to vote, and only 25% of the citizens are, when we get excited about 1/3 of the people voting, that's kind of sad.
Well, some people, I'm working in a lot of cities, like you said earlier, and a lot of people have given up on voting. There's so many impediments to the voting process in Brooks County with equipment 10+2. I was amazed as a veteran. Marie, I think I know her relatives in Gordon, and not in Gordon, in Morgan. She's 84, so she would never vote again because of what the GBR did to her and intimidation that they went through.
Right.
And that's the flavor in Brooks County behind equipment 10+2. And so what is happening, and I'm not going to get into that, but the cities that I'm covering, this is something that has crossed the state of Georgia that I can verify, and I wish that somebody would, like CNN or MSNBC, would come on and interview me and let me present my facts as well as have people to speak from the community. So to get back to what you're saying would make me speak on this, is that a lot of people are intimidated. They feel like it's not going to do any good. And so that's one reason why the people don't turn out. And a lot of it ain't got to do with the people. Some people just fed up with, some people are Democrat, and they fed up with the Democratic Party. And I know I'm saying this on tape, but some people are fed up with the Democratic Party because they don't come to these areas and get the people.
Well, I kind of digressed. We were talking about the redistricting,
Right,
and it was done.
Right, absolutely. And they signed off on it. That's the major focus that you want to get.
I can show you the letter.
Okay. Now, one other thing I want to address in G, item G, he used the term 30% based on block voting. Why would you think he would put block voting in that sentence? What do you think he means that, or you can't get inside of his head again?
You'll have to ask him.
All right, gotcha. Next one.
Well, a lot of this has to do he makes the comment that already as mayor, my role has been minimized simply presiding over meetings and sitting on various committee boards. That is basically what the charter of the city, those are the duties of the mayor. Mm-hmm. The mayor really is in a council manager form of government. The mayor doesn't vote unless there's a tie.
Right.
About us as a council manager form of government, I think. And,
yes.
The mayor there presides over meetings, represents the city at events, signs documents approved by the city council, and serves on boards as a result of him being elected to mayor.
Do you know how long you all have had this type of government, mayoral type? Management?
A long time.
A long time. Okay.
I can go back and.
No, that's not necessarily.
I think you're talking about going back to the probably. I'm just going to guess and say mid-60s, but I couldn't really. Without doing some research, I can't tell you that.
Okay, the last sentence, read that sentence, but at the end of your line there, it says, "This is a role that I have not what does he mean by that? He's never been.
This is a role I have not embraced,
yeah.
As I was elected by the people to guide the city, and have tried my best to do just that. Having proposed a new movie theater project, a homeless shelter, a property tax exemption for the elderly, and lower utility rates for our residents. At every turn, there has been an attempt to minimize my role to that of a coffee boy. The mayor's role in Camilla, in any city that's a council manager form of government, is one to as I said before, but that doesn't preclude
oversee the meeting.
That's right, but that doesn't preclude anyone elected to that position from presenting ideas. And to my knowledge, the only idea that he has formally presented to the council in a committee meeting was the idea of building the new theater project.
Okay.
And I think the council's response to that was, if there's a need for a theater in Camilla, the private sector would step in and build a theater. Their model is to build multi-screen cinemas in larger locations.
What about this? Go ahead, I'm sorry. You about through?
Yeah.
Okay, what about this part where he says that the people of his own council, the black African Americans per se, that they just pretty near don't voice concerns or just saying that to make a long story short, from my understanding, from what I just read, and I had read it before, is that they just sit there and his mind, he says, mind boggling. In other words, there are some blacks in other cities, they just sit there and don't address the issue. They don't even ask for a motion. They just pretty much go along to get along. And I guess this is what he's saying. We see that a lot in a lot of cities. Is that what he's saying here? You wouldn't know without asking him that
I don't
too?
know without asking him, but
Okay.
that's not
Okay.
true.
Okay.
You were here
Yeah.
and talked to some of the council members. You know they're quality people from your conversation with them. And if they have something on their mind, they're gonna say it.
Okay.
He's got some other issues here. I'm 67 and a half years old. I've been trying to retire since June.
Mm-hmm.
The council asked me to stay until the end of the year, and knowing that they would, be trying to recruit a new city manager, and they've asked me to stay until January 26th to give some transition time with the new manager who they approved whose contract today. That's fairly standard. I mean, Camilla's a full-service city. Although we're small in size, our budget is $47 million. We provide electric, gas, water, sewer. We also have telecommunications here. So there's a lot of things going on, and I think to take a couple of days to, I have a file about this thick to give the new city manager. And just to take the time to go through that, introduce him to all the department heads, take him around and introduce him to some of our larger utility customers. I mean, that's anyone would want to have a smooth transition, whether it was the commanding general of the Air Force Base in Valdosta, Marine Corps Logistics Base, or the president of the PNC Bank. I mean, which is a local bank here. I mean, when you have a new chief officer come in, you have a transition period, and that's what they did today. These other things are.
Well, let's address this on the line about the $40,000 pay raise. He said almost 50%. Explain that for me.
Well, I did get a little raise in June. I'm not, we're talking openly here. I came to work, I was making $95,000 a year. I'm making, if my math is correct, I've got 2 college degrees.
Right.
95 and 40,000 is 135,000.
Right.
I'm not making that today. So obviously, I didn't get this kind of increase. Okay. My severance package, most city managers have contracts that have some type of, severance package. If they're fired without cause, they're given some kind of termination. Mine moved from 6 to 9 months back several contracts ago. I did ask for additional vacation. I planned to retire in June, and actually my wife had already planned some extended trips. And I asked them to give me, some days to take those trips. I did remove the clause requiring an annual evaluation up until that point. That was in my contract, and I've had, several reviews. My contract that was signed ran out in December, so why are you going to review? There's no reason to do an annual review because I was going to be gone. And probably September of next year, they can do a review of the new city manager because he's going to be there, and they may want to give him some type of, raise or not a raise based on that.
So fill me in on this, and this mainly because of what I read online and in the newspaper. Short form, what is the major thrust or problem between the mayor and you, or the city manager?
I've tried.
Just short form.
I've tried to do my job.
Okay.
I mean, when he was elected 2 years ago, now he's given the impression that he was recently elected in some venues that he's spoken. When he was elected, he came up and we had a nice conversation. Spent a couple hours talking in general. Spent a couple hours riding around looking at different facilities here in the city, just so he would, if you're talking about a wastewater treatment plant, it helps to know what it looks like, when you're talking about it. Or he went down to the fire department, the police department. We were showing him some of the technological things we've got to help our personnel do better jobs, and just just kind of went around and, this is the different aspects of the city. And during the tour of the city, City Hall, he asked if he could have an office. And we did have an office here in City Hall for the mayor, and the previous mayor, prior to Mayor Davis, did not use it. We hired a Main Street director.
What was his name?
Vernon Twitty.
Okay.
The previous mayor, Mr. Twitty, Mayor Twitty did not use the office, and I asked him if our Main Street director could utilize that office because it was already set up, and he said, "Sure, I don't use it anyway." So we walked through City Hall, Mayor Davis and I did, and he asked that he have an office, and we did. And we walked down to 2 offices, and I said, "Would this be okay?" And he said, "Yes." So we painted it, that and a conference room, purchased furniture for those offices. I don't know exactly how much we spent, but it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $3,000 on furniture, and gave him keys to that office. He's made a statement he did not have keys to his office. He was given 2 keys 2 years ago. Now, whether he has them in his possession now or not, I cannot tell you. He has not used the office very much. Of course, that's up to him. That's no requirement that he come in every day. He wanted the key to City Hall. And I told him that as city manager, I could not give him a key because no elected official has ever had a key to City Hall. I mean, City Hall opens at 7 in the morning, and we don't open for business at 7, but somebody's here at 7, and we close at 5. And, if he wanted to come in and utilize his office during that time, he could come in just like everybody else does.
Okay, you mean after 7 o'clock, after they open?
7 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Okay. So he don't have access to City Hall?
He has access to City Hall during normal work.
I'm talking about if he want to come in and get something done or sign something or whatever, he can't come in.
If he comes in to sign something, the clerk will be here. I mean, and she's not going to be up here after hours anyway.
Right.
I mean, during normal working hours, but no elected official has ever had a key to City Hall. And I didn't make that decision. The city council made the decision to continue that policy.
Wow. I met a lot. I've gone through a lot of cities. That's the first I've heard. That's the first.
Well, you might be surprised if you ask.
You're right. You're right. I might be, but I mean, I've actually went with mayors in most of the cities that I've been. But anyway, maybe you have some problem. Anyway, okay, I got you. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's
okay. What does he mean down here when he said, "Why do we just pay a firm to conduct a search for a new qualified city manager?" Was there a conflict about who they hired, or what kind of, do y'all have a written process for selecting a mayor? Do the city have a outline for for choosing a city manager?
the city manager position has certain qualifications.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it was advertised several places. Mm-hmm. It was advertised in the local paper. It was advertised in the Georgia Municipal Association has a classified section of their website, mm-hmm. and also the International City County Managers Association. Mm-hmm. And it's not unusual to hire a search firm. Mr. Berry, who was here this morning, mm-hmm. He was his Underwood and Company is a firm that he works with, and they do a lot of executive searches in this part of the state. The University of Georgia does a lot of executive searches. They're working with Dougherty County now to replace their county administrator.
Okay.
So
let me regress, and I want to make sure that I ask you this question the same way I'm going to ask the mayor if he consent to an interview. And I thank you for being so open. And we're nearing the end, but again, short form for the people who watch this video, because it won't be cut. I'm not going to cut it.
Okay.
So I want your short answer. What created, or if a hostility exists between you and the mayor? Short form, in any way you want to. Because I'm asking him the same question.
If it is, it's on his initiative. I mean, we went Well, I guess our relationship started out going down. We had to terminate a black police officer for something that was very severe, and he wanted to meet with me and the police chief to discuss that. And I told him under the charter that's not possible. That as city manager, I was responsible for that. If we had erred in doing that, certainly the employee had a right to come back and do whatever they wanted to do. I'm not going to tell you what was involved, but I can tell you it was pretty significant to make that move. We also had gone to the airport when he came in, and we were riding back to City Hall, and he said, "I can't support the airport." And I said, "Why is that?" And he said, "Because my constituents don't get any benefit." And I said, "Well, Mayor, in January, your constituents are the citizens of Camilla." And I don't think he appreciated that, although it's true. So those are other than that, those are the two things that stick out in my mind. He receives, I know there's places where the manager may determine they're not going to provide, this and that to one of the council members or to the mayor. He's received all documents, everybody, all the elected officials receive the same documents. Okay, that's always been, I've been doing this 40 years, that's always been one of the things that I insisted on doing.
Okay, so we can bring this to a close, but before we close, and then I'm gonna let you get the closing remark. I have a question. I want you to, did I not ask the council member before they left if they want to speak on camera? Did I not ask that question?
You did.
And the one lady did a lot of talking, but she would not talk on camera, am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay. But we did a lot of talking, so these are the questions I had written down. We've covered most of them. So first, from what and I got this from what I've gotten online and been following this along, is that one of the problems is the burial. He says it's a black and white cemetery, and you say that's not true. Am I right?
That's correct.
Okay. The other thing was the keys. He could not get into the mayor's office, and you said that is true because he really, I guess, he have access from 4 to 5 like everybody else, right?
He has access from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Okay, all right. And
just like everybody else.
Right. Okay, and I asked how many black police officers, and you said none, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
We're actively recruiting, and if a black police officer who's post-certified and good standing hears this, watches this video, and wants to come to Camilla, Georgia, we welcome you.
Okay. It's something that you use, and I was intending to ask you about this, and I guess from my standpoint as a black man, the retired veteran, is more of a comment, and that is that when black people see no black police officers in any city, red flags go up because, and we know that white people use the term qualified, but we in the black community, and I'm throwing this out from my perspective along with what have already been documented with civil rights leaders, and this is black and white people, is that back in the day that you could have a black person with a PhD, he could not be a police officer, he could not be a state patrol, he could not apply for many jobs, and he definitely was qualified. This is a lot of time what black folks see when you use the term, we want the best qualified, because a black man could be overqualified, but if he was not white, he wouldn't get that job. Do you understand that?
I understand it.
But that's not the situation here.
If that black male or female is post-certified and in good standing with post and wants to work for the city of Camilla, we welcome them.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, the last one is that, and we've already did this, is kind of a recap for the people. As they watch all this other stuff, they can kind of look and see what the bottom line. When we walk into City Hall here, you say we will see how many blacks employed up here?
You will see, just walking down the hall, you'll see 2.
2, okay.
Now,
Out of
7.
Out of 7, okay. And a city that is at least 69%, 70% black, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, that's it.
Okay. You are unique from my perspective. And I'm saying this on camera, the camera not off. Because I was sitting here, you came to me, I did not come to you.
Right.
And I want you to know that I really appreciate that. And the reason I appreciate it is because many people, city managers too. Now, most of them are real professionals. I will give them credit for that. Most of them are professionals when it comes to the media, and they understand open government. But you, to me, you reached out further than a lot of them. And I want to commend you for that.
I'm professional.
I commend you. I commend you for that.
Well,
now,
we are open. I mean, we have nothing to hide. I mean, what happened in Camilla, Georgia? I mean, what happened in Camilla, Georgia 6.5 years ago? I didn't have any control over it.
Right.
All I can tell you is the bricks I've laid have been open and above board, and I hope it'll stay that way.
Let me ask this question. I thought of it 4 or 5 times and I forget it. And Mayor Davis may not appreciate me asking this question, but as I told you in the council, all I want is the truth, and that's what I've been doing as long as I've been doing it from my perspective with what I have between my 2 years, and that is this. Is Mayor Davis, no, wait. Does Mayor Davis have a personality or a friendly behavior that is acceptable to people, or is it hard to communicate with him, or how is that? I mean, how is his personality? If you want to say, you may not even want to say about that. Is it easy to approach, or how is that?
I'm not going to comment.
You're not going to comment? Okay. Well, I just wanted to know because I'm going to ask him that same question about you. That's where I am. I try to be fair, okay? All right, thank you very much. If you want to, we'll walk through and show me that so people can see the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say. Let's go. First of all, I see this pretty tree here. Who put this up?
We have a couple of ladies here at City Hall that took some time to do it. This year, the picture on the cover of the box has the tree with the balls of similar colors all the way up.
All right, thank you. When was the last time this remodeled? Like, recently?
Well, the building is over 100 years old.
Wow, okay.
But it's been refurbished several times. And especially in the rear section. She does all of our building.
How you doing? Good. This is the Get To Free Press. I'm George Rhines, and he just showing me the building.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Nice. Thank you, sir.
So that's probably
Okay. How you doing today?
I'm well, how are you?
Good. I'm with the Get To Free Press, and you can check this out on Boston G.B.R. on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
We just walking through the building. He just showing me around.
Okay.
Okay.
So is Nikki not here today?
No, sir,
She would be over here.
She back?
Yeah.
Okay. Nikki, this is another black that is employed up here. And once again, this is what I say. All I want is the truth. She's black too. That's 3 blacks that's working up in here. And all I want is the truth to reflect. How you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing good.
Good. What's your name?
Janice Cook.
Nice meeting you, Miss Cook.
You too.
Thank you. How you doing, sir?
Morning.
Good.
The reason we moved Flip City Hall the way we
How you
did
doing, man?
is we needed to get a handicap ramp
Yeah.
available for some of our people who have mobility issues. So, the typical utility company, you can pay online, or we built this drive-through in the last
I saw that, yeah.
3 or 4 years
Okay.
to make it convenient for people who have, inclement weather, or just they have ambulatory issues. But we, like I said, we flipped City Hall. All of this used to be up in the meeting room.
So the question I asked, they don't go through the front and see black, but this way most people.
This is the way.
Right.
95% of the traffic comes through this door.
I got one problem here. Now, why would you? This discrimination here. Why you got no sagging pants? Okay, I'll answer that. Well, a lot of people agree with that, so, and I agree with that too. That's my point. I agree. That's a good sign to have. I agree with that. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. But you would have had no comment on that. Yeah, I understand.
this area is where the public, for the most part, if they come in, they have their bill and they have their cash to pay, they come in right there. If they have to go to customer service, they may have lost a remote for their television, or they may want to get some kind of different service, or they might want to stop service. They would go into customer service.
And she was the first person they see.
That's right.
Thank you. Okay.
Now, we have 3 meter readers. This is Joe Willingham, our chief
How you doing?
meter reader. And you can't. Joe's back here behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But he and Fred Frazier and Stubbs are all African Americans.
So you're talking 5?
I'm talking 7.
7. Okay. Oh, but 3. Okay, 3.
And Evelyn Toombs is our custodian.
Okay.
And she, I think, has already left for the day.
How long you been working here, man?
32 years.
Oh my goodness! Wow. Hey, look at man.
Long time.
Yeah. You got any more of these? If not, don't worry. I'm sorry.
I'll have to get
I'm
you
gonna
one.
use one. Yeah. Okay.
It's water coming. I see you, sir.
Okay. I'll be right there.
Show me your officer.
This is Brenda Cross, our executive assistant.
Okay.
Good morning.
How you doing? Peace be unto you, my beautiful sister.
Okay. Your
God bless you.
name?
George Boston Ryan to get to Free Press.
Okay.
And this will be on my channel, Boston G.B.R. on YouTube. Boston G.B.R.
All right. Nice to meet you.
Okay, thank you. So this is the den.
I don't know about that. This is the Justice Department letter.
Okay. Truth speaks. Okay. Mr. Adams, I gotta say it again, man. Really appreciate your personality and your professionalism. I really appreciate it. Okay. Thank you very much.
I'm glad you came
And
up.
peace be unto you, man.
But getting the truth out is what we're both about, I think.
Yes, sir. And you'll see that I try to be a man of my word.
First comment is African Americans cannot be buried next to whites in the segregated city-owned cemetery. Our cemetery is maintained by our Public Works Department, and we have an inmate detail from the County Correctional Institute that also assists us with maintenance. There are two sections of the cemetery. One is a section where you can buy a lot. The lots are $500 each. There's another section where the lots are free. And, families in the free section go in and, if you and I were brothers and we had a family of 12, we'd go out there and mark off 12 spaces and delineate that, and that would be our space. We don't even know who's buried on that side of the cemetery. You are an African American. When we leave here, if you want to buy a lot in our cemetery, you're welcome. If you have $500, you're welcome to go over here and buy a lot. I've been here 6.5 years. We have not had any African American citizens come, or anyone who grew up here and moved away come and ask to purchase a lot. But if they do, I can assure you they'll be sold a lot. And what happened before I was city manager, I have no control over that. But I know the people who were for a number of years, and I think if anyone of color had come in and asked to buy a lot, they would have been sold a lot.
Well, while we're on this particular item, I have a question for this item. Why would you think, and I know you can't get in anybody's head, but is this just in the mayor's head, or it may be in the head of other black people, you just don't know about that? I mean, perception sometimes is reality. It may not be true, but you can't say. Nick, go forward.
The night where he's in children asleep. I wonder who will wake him, bring him to his feet. Speak now or forever hold your peace. There's a night where he's in children asleep. I wonder who will wake him, bring him to his feet. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
So you see, we made up our minds, the choice is clear. Now it may come as a surprise, but after all the struggles through the years, there's still determination in our lives. Determination. In the children we can see hope for the future society. In their desire to try and learn, there's a fire that should never burn. So you see, we made up our minds, the choice is clear. Determination, 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 determination. Ever since the beginning of time, man has struggled with his environment, trying to bring about order, peace, and tranquility. And Allah, seeing this, sent messengers and prophets to man so that he may receive the blueprint for human growth and development. Now, these prophets had to struggle and strive to carry on the revelation of the Almighty.
This is the Get To Free Press, and we report what others ignore. This is your First Amendment right to know without whiteouts from a controlled news media whiteout network. And we are located in Valdosta, Georgia, and we are here to inform, educate, and persuade if necessary. Always keep that in mind. Moreover, I want to say to you that as a community, state, nation, and world, we are not who we claim to be, but who we prove ourselves to be over a given period of time. And if we are a liar, time will tell. And if we are a racist or a hater, time will tell. And our righteous and holy God already know. So you are only fooling yourselves. Again, the Ghetto Free Press. I'm George Foster Rhymes.
Camilla, Georgia. Camilla, Georgia. A great place to visit. Camilla, Georgia.